My name is Vishnu Menon, and I'm going to tell you about how I improved my memory, my cognition, and my overall ability to think and use my mind. I had a lot of issues with this in the last couple of years, and only recently have I gotten a better understanding of where I was going wrong. I believe it all comes down to fear. It all comes down to fear of judgment, fear of acceptance, fear of not being enough, really. And whenever I'm in a state of fear, I've realized that I can't remember anything. And I know that other people experience the same things. I was reading a book called The Ageless Brain. I think the guy's name is Dale Bresden. He's a psychologist and psychotherapist, I believe. And mind you, I don't have any titles. I don't have any, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone that is curious, and I'm not at all the most intelligent guy in the room, but I can say that I'm up there in terms of being perceptive and being curious. So a lot of what he was saying was that, and what I've experienced is that stress is the biggest culprit when it comes to losing your memory, your body degrading, stress, and then mix that in with trying to combat stress with inflammatory rituals like eating like shit, or watching things that don't actually help you, like maybe corn or a bunch of Netflix, things that you're not supposed to be doing, and putting off the things that you, in the back of your mind, you're supposed to be doing those things, can lead to stress. And then what does stress do? Stress releases cortisol in your body. And cortisol is the devil's neurochemical. It will literally make you eat shit. It will make you feel like shit, which makes you continue going back to those same practices that even further release that cortisol, whether it be drinking or eating badly or any sort of sin, really. But yeah, to improve memory and cognition, I realized that I needed to slow my thinking down. I need to understand why I couldn't, why I wasn't able to stop myself before I judged someone else, or stop myself before a behavior. Why couldn't I resist certain things that were put in front of me as traps? The answer for me was meditation. Meditating, and that way I could slow my thinking down. And when you're in a real meditative state, you're truly present in that moment. Fear comes from the ability, like the thought that you're not going to be able to do something in the future, or fear of the past repeating itself. So a lot of times while I'm meditating, my brain will go back and forth between these two states. Like even today while I'm making this video, there was a period of time while I was meditating, I was like, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? And then kind of scripting in this way is just not, it's not the truth, and because now I have to like work around these certain statements that I made up in my head, as opposed to let it just roll off naturally. But I've realized when you're truly present, like when you're in that meditative state, like for example, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and then I had to bring it back, like, oh, I'm not there yet, right? I'm not doing that right now. What I am doing right now is meditating. So bringing it back straight to the present, where I'm kind of focusing on my body as opposed to trying to break down what I'm supposed to say. And this can happen on such a minuscule level of, like, your brain is always living in the future. it's always not here and right now. So you can't actually use your brain to enjoy where you are. And after practicing that, it took so many tries really to even have like a sliver of presence, where I'm not actually worried about. Because even if I'm breaking something down that's supposed to happen in the future, it's because there might be a part of me that's like worrying, will I do it right? But like, it took a number of meditations really, and I think anyone's capable of it. It only takes like a few minutes a day. That's what I started with, and then you work your way up because you start to enjoy it. You start to enjoy that peace that you get. But you start to, all of the fear that you believe that you had, you start to realize that it was irrational. Like the fear of judgment from others is just extremely irrational if you think about it, because all the times that you ever felt like you were being judged, like, do you remember that today? Is that relevant to your life today? And some people argue like, yeah, but fear put me under pressure, and it made me it made me not want to feel that fear, so it made me want to do things. So yes, it can be used, I guess, somewhat productively, but still, you can still do things out of a state of love for what you're doing. Actually, you're going to be 10 times more ingrained in the process if you are doing it out of love as opposed to fear. Like I said, cortisol, the idea behind an overproduction in cortisol in your body is so that you can survive predators. It's so that if there's a threat in front of you, you'll survive. So your brain gives you like a big jolt, you know. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you some extra. And like, I'm going to give it adrenaline and cortisol to your body, and it's going to affect your brain. It's going to damage your brain momentarily in your body, but at least you'll have that, you know, ability to function at a higher capacity in that moment. But the problem is that people are walking around all day in this state of releasing cortisol, like overproduction of cortisol, because they're so worried about what someone else might think of them if they're truly themselves. Or they're just constantly worried about what the future might bring. The uncertainty of the future is constantly releasing this cortisol as if they're about to die. Like in all moments, their body, like their brain might be thinking like, oh, you know, this is a professional issue. Like in terms of my career, it's not where I want it to be yet. But their body is screaming like, yo, like, you're about to die. You make sure, you know, like, it's just, it's not on the same, like, it's not the same, not the same game plan. They're not on the same game plan. They're not on the same wavelength, really. One thing's, it's way worse than it actually is, and the other is just like in a hamster wheel, doing the same thing over and over. But yeah, to improve memory and cognition, I've realized you have to meditate and slow the thinking down, because once you slow the thinking down, then you can be more present, be more rational, use your brain more effectively. So like, you're not going to be judging people as much, just because judging really someone you don't know is more of an animalistic behavior. Like you know, if you're thinking rationally, you can look at that person in that moment and say, oh, he's a human just like me. You probably, you know, succeeded, failed, loved, cried, all that stuff, you know. Like, he's no different. He or she is no different than I am. But it's more of an animalistic behavior when someone is like, especially men, try to dominate each other, instead of coming to the conclusion that like we can relate a little bit more than we think. Yeah, so with meditation too, I gained a lot of my memories back, especially it comes after states of non-thinking. Like when I'm thinking about useless things, it's almost like the RAM of my brain is continuously being used up all the time. And then when I'm in a state of non-thinking, where I'm like, I could just look at the back of my eyes and there's no thoughts like running around about this or that. It's almost like I have more power to enjoy the moment. I have more power if I want to remember things. Like, sometimes I can't control that. It just comes to me. But I've had memories of my childhood. And mind you, when I was in the deepest state of fear is when I couldn't remember anything. I was too caught up in how I looked to other people and how I sounded and how how I was being perceived, instead of actually being receptive to information. It's the whole idea of being in fight or flight or being in a responsive state. And that's the problem, is that everyone is sort of in this state of fight or flight. They're in a state of, they haven't fought with themselves to get more comfortable in their own skin. So it's easier to pretend like the chaos is okay, but realistically it's destroying your body and mind, than it is to work on it. And eating healthy, so lowering the inflammation in your body, doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, whether that be hanging out more with your son, or, I don't have kids, but hanging out more with your son, working on that business, reading that book, reaching out to that friend, all of these things, you put them off and they kind of make you stress. Like you don't know why you're stressing so much, and why and slowly, once you stress, your body is like feeling like more like shit. And once you're stressing, I'm telling you, your brain is operating at like a 20%, compared to how it would be operating if you were trying to manage that stress. Exercise is another great one. Hot cold therapy. These things, this reduces inflammation in your body. Exercise releases endorphins, and it is one of the best ways to improve cognition. I don't know why there's a whole stigma of people being meatheads for working out. It is one of the greatest ways to improve your memory, improve your focus. It's entirely for your own profit. Unlike your career, you're not doing it for the profit of someone else. It's entirely for you. No one else gains anything out of it other than you, and other than maybe your girlfriend when she gets to feel your muscles. But yeah, it's really is possible to improve these things. And when I say improve thinking too, it's because when you get into a more rational state of mind, you're not cyclically thinking about things when you're by yourself, or when you're with other people. You can use your thinking to create. You can use it to strategize. You can use it to do things for yourself. So throw out all of the fear. Meditate first, so you can come to this conclusion. But I think we need to throw out the idea of fear of judgment, because it doesn't matter. It's a psychological prison that we've put together ourselves, and then we suffer in it ourselves. It prevents us from connecting with others. It prevents us from pursuing things that actually matter to us. It prevents us from being ourselves. And the funny part about it is that every single person is in that same psychological prison. It's what's taught to us when we're younger. Don't stand out. Don't act out. Don't do anything out of the ordinary, because you will be casted out. And once you're casted out, that doesn't feel good, and you won't survive. No, you will survive, and you will find other people that are just in love with themselves as you are, and it'll only be a very great relationship, as opposed to having the same conversation with the same people over and over about the same nothing. Like, no offense to people, no offense to, no offense to, I think his name is Charlie Kirk, I personally, I don't know him. I don't know him yet. I've literally, in the last like couple days, all I've been hearing all these people talk about is, oh, he got shot. And if you ask me, it's like, bro, I didn't know him before, and I'm not gonna pretend like I knew him after, just because other people are talking about it, and if you ask me, a lot of this comes down to, like, people they're not using their minds enough where they can talk about things that are relevant to them in a tactful and insightful way. So they just, like, kind of parrot each other. They just say the same things. Like, none of these fucking people that have been bringing up Charlie Kirk I've never heard his name once prior to this. And I'm not saying, like, it's not important, like, the things that he did weren't important. I've seen some of his clips, and I had realized that I've seen this guy, like, I think a year ago, he was, like, debating with other people, and I found it interesting. He's well spoken and whatnot, but I'm just not going to pretend like I care, and I'm not going to pretend to be with it. That's not my MO. That's not my game plan. I want to actually be with it. I want to actually care about what I'm talking about. I want to actually connect. I want to actually hear other people and build off of their ideas, and I want to come out of that conversation knowing that I got better. And I'm not saying every single one has to be, sometimes small talk is just fine. Like, it's a little bit unreasonable to have a really great conversation with someone and the next day be like, oh, let's do it, run it back, No, when it comes, it comes. And when it comes, I don't forget. And I don't want to live my life in a way where I could forget or be forgotten. Not that being forgotten matters as much to me, but I just want to be able to live my life with a great brain, with better memory, with better focus, throw out all this irrational, stupid fear that has been implanted into me as a child. And I want to live. I want to live joyously. I want to be free. I am free, but I'm still breaking out of one of the self-imposed psychological prisons that I've spoke about before. Mind is a powerful thing, it tricks me into believing that I'm in chains still. But I know the true part of me, the one that is more understanding and more towards truth, understands that I made this up. I made this shit up. I created all of it. I created all of it within my head. I have the option to be joyous, loving, happy, and free always, and just like you do. Just like you do. But again, it starts with slowing your thinking down. And just a last side note is it also helps very much to put your phone away or use your phone less, because the more you're using your phone, the more stimulation your brain gets, and the more kind of useless thinking you end up in. The more useless thinking you end up in, the more procrastination happens. The more procrastination happens, the more you're stressed. The more you're stressed, the more cortisol your body has. The more cortisol your body has, the more you'll age, the more you'll feel like shit. The more you'll feel like shit, the more you'll do it to others. The more you do it to others, the worse confidence you'll have of your own life. The worse confidence you'll have of your own life. That's when all these things pop up like Reese's in a candy shop, like just not all this stuff to keep your life stagnant, and we don't want that, man. We've been blessed with a great gift. We might as well make the most of it while we're alive.